Good evening, everyone. I want to make another video before I go to sleep. I'm up late. It's like close to midnight, but I had to make another video to address a previous video that I made going over some of the news for today, and wanted to let you guys know that I did further research and looking at news after I did that video and discovered that all that stuff that was on Twitter and that Trump and Vance are telling the public about the lack of aid or the denial of aid to the Hurricane Helene survivors have been debunked and are just flat out lies. These are right wing, redneck, racist lies. Um, and I hate to keep putting racism in it, but they had this mascot. I call her a ghetto mascot. Come on stage at a Trump rally he held in North Carolina, and Silk of the duo Diamond and Silk, who were the ghetto mascots for the Trump campaign with the hard hair, wigs, and look like the quick weaves that they had, overweight black women. They bring these stereotypical ghetto mascots. That's what they look like. They're like characters. They make fun of us. They play in our face as black people. You need to feel insulted when they do this type of stuff. So they bring this Silk lady, because the other lady, her sister, died a few years ago of COVID after she denied that the vaccines were effective and refused to take a vaccine. Turns around, she died of COVID a few years ago. That was her sister. But they were a duo, and they were going around campaigning for Trump all over the country, attending his rallies, and just really going hard for Trump. So they pulls her out the wherever she come from wherever she came from. They pulled her back out, to go um, rile up the people in North Carolina during this rally that he held in North Carolina. I think it was either today or yesterday. And she helped him spread this misinformation about the lack of response from the Biden administration and humanitarian organizations, and people being denied and threatened with arrest when they come to try to donate or help out with the hurricane relief efforts. Well, there have been several news agencies and investigative reporters who went to find out and verify if, in fact, this information was true, because you have a bunch of people in Appalachia and in North Carolina and all of these people on Twitter going around saying the government just did not do anything for us. They're not letting us help. They're not letting us volunteer. And just flat out lie. These are just straight up lies. So I posted the news clips of the reporters going and verifying if this was in fact true, and come to find out these are just flat out lies. So they're getting desperate. This is getting close to the election, and they are just getting desperate, and they're just throwing everything up against the wall and trying to make the Biden administration, and Vice President Kamala Harris look just so incompetent, which like I said, I'm not on either side, because ain't neither one of them on my side, or, the side of my interests. So in all fairness, um, Trump was derelict in his duties for when responding to natural disasters as well, especially during the wildfires when he was in office. So he uses this Hurricane Helene um, tragedy to play politics and bash Kamala Harris and spreading lies. Him and his vice president, Vance, just spreading straight up lies. So I posted 3 or 4 stories up there in all fairness, because I went on Twitter and saw all these people, and just spreading all this propaganda, and then come to find out none of it is true. They're all lies. So, but the $750 is true, and that's still an insult. I don't care what nobody says. To give migrants $4,000 and then turn around and give American citizens insults, that's still, $750, that's still an insult. But yeah, just had to do a little bit of research and go and find, there's 2 sides to every story, and then there's the truth. And so I posted several, like 2 or 3 other news clips. They're very short, they're very brief, to show people, that that's just not true, that the government has not responded and not providing aid to the Hurricane Helene survivors. So, yeah. Um, in other news, there has been a violent gang attack in Haiti. I told y'all Haiti is a very violent, just lawless country that has been overtaken by gangs. And I read a news story tonight that at least 70 people have been killed in a small town in Haiti called Saint Mark, where this gang has just has opened fire and shot and killed 70 people, including infants and children, um, during this massacre. Um, they have Kenyan police down there trying to regain control of the country, but it's obvious, obviously not. They're obviously not. They need more help, more military help, more military force. So it says this gang is down there shooting people, and they said they have set fire to over 4 dozen houses, and they shown the people in the news clips just running for their lives because this gang has just taken over that country completely. Because Haiti doesn't have Jesus. They don't believe in Jesus. They don't believe in God. They believe in Santeria deities and voodoo and hoodoo and stuff like that. So it doesn't surprise me, but that's what's happening, unfortunately. Um, I don't know how they're going to get. It's going to take military intervention to regain control of that country and get those gangs out of there. So, like I said earlier today, the supreme leader over in Iran, Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, um, led the prayer, the Muslim prayer, and also had a memorial service, kind of, I guess an Arabic Palestinian Muslim memorial service for Hassan Nasrallah today, because they had his funeral, and he raised his gun in the air. They said he had a rifle at the prayer meeting. So that's letting everybody know and putting the world on notice that Israel and Iran are about to go into full-on war. Tomorrow is the 5th. The 7th is the anniversary of the Hamas attack in Gaza. So this weekend is going to be wild. And him raising that gun is just indication that this war is about to escalate to a heightened level. And also, the United States has deployed more warships and warplanes to the Middle East in anticipation of this escalation. So, also, the U.S. forces have uh, issued strikes on 15 Houthi rebel targets in Yemen. So the U.S. is actively helping fight this war with Israel against Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran, and the Houthis in the Middle East right about now. So um, you don't hear a lot about what the UK is doing, though. You just hear what the US is doing, but not the UK. What about France? Where's Germany? Where's all these NATO people who are allies to Israel that claim that they support Israel? Where are they at? Kamala Harris also made a speech expressing her, or confirming, or um, further indicating that she will continue to support Ukraine and Israel. And, she's just, that's just where she stands on that. That, she said she met with Zelensky a couple of weeks ago, or was it last week? And she let him know that America still fully supporting Ukraine. And Ukraine has recently expanded their missile capabilities. And Zelensky has made the announcement this week that they will be using long-range missiles to strike deep inside of Russia now. So that was a announcement he made this week. So they got those long-range missiles from somewhere, probably America or the UK. So We'll see how that goes. So that's going to escalate the war over in with Russia and Ukraine as well when they start using those long-range missiles against Russia. Also, Ukraine killed a Russian official in a car bomb at the Zaporizhia power plant. I put the news story about that too. They keep attacking that Zaporizhia power plant, and Ukraine and Russia keeps blaming each other about, you know, they blew up a transformer at that power plant recently. And the thing about it is people don't realize that if they blow up, if they cause that power plant to blow, that is the biggest power plant in Europe. And that's going to cause something similar to Chernobyl if that happens. They are playing a very dangerous game messing with that Zaporizhia power plant. But they keep striking it with drones, shelling it, and now Ukraine has killed one of the Russian Zaporizhia officials because Russia has taken over that power plant and they got people posted there, and Ukraine has murdered one of them with a car bomb. So it's only a matter of time. They're going to make that power plant explode and go off, and it's going to be catastrophic to Europe, period. So because that's the largest one in Europe. But yeah, that's about it. We went over the Trump lies, the gangs in Haiti. The Ayatollah has pretty much declared war, and so has Israel. Israel is right now making preparations to um, strike Lebanon and Iran. Uh, so they're just waiting. Iran is just waiting to see how Israel is going to retaliate against them in the next probably day or so. So we look for that, and it's going to be, people are expecting it to be a significant strike. Um, so yeah, that's about where the news is right now tonight. There's a lot going on still, and overnight we're going to wake up to some more. Also, I forgot to tell you guys too. In false prophet news, the Pope has slammed Israel for their domineering uh, approach to how they're responding to Ukraine and how they're fighting this war. Their domineering tendencies, quote unquote. And what this stupid Pope doesn't realize is that this is a war. Israel was attacked first. So him slamming Israel is probably in response to Israel slamming the Catholic Church a few months ago. But anyway, Pope Francis need to worry about his own congregation and his own country. Worry about Vatican City and the Catholic Church, and let Israel fight their war and defend themselves against their enemies in peace. Well, there's no peace in war, but y'all know what I mean. He needs to stay out of their business and worry about his own. Worry about Vatican City and the Catholic Church because he's got a lot of things, a lot of issues going over there. Um, but yeah. Oh, and the sun unleashed the strongest solar flare in 7 years. Getting all this astronomical, all these astronomical events that's going on, all these things taking place in the sky. That's why the Bible tells you to keep watching the sky, keep looking up, keep watch, because there's a lot of events going on up in the sky um, that indicates that we're in the end times. So, yeah, like I said, you guys can just go look at the news sources and look at the news stories, and just kind of form your own opinion about all of this stuff that's going on. We always say, go to the Bible first, go in prayer, and ask God to help you find the truth, and He will do so. I mean, He keeps no things hidden from us. But this is just what's going on in the world. I mean, it's just getting worse by the day, and it's just only a matter of time before Jesus comes back, which will be soon, according to all of these events that's taking place. So pray for me, pray for your loved ones, pray for yourself. I will do the same. And just pray that Jesus come on down here and shut this stuff down and take us to heaven so we won't have to deal with this anymore. Everybody who believes and is saved and has been baptized in the name of Jesus Christ, who have repented to God for their sins and turned away from wickedness and try to live a Christ-like life, will be saved. And we just got to hold on and endure. These are some really perilous times right about now. We just got to stay the course. Don't fall away from the faith like so many have. And just be patient and wait for him to come. Wait for him to come back to get us. So, all right, peace, y'all. I'm going to go to sleep. I'm tired. I'm sleepy. But if there's anything else, which I'm quite sure is going to happen overnight, I will be back in the morning or in the afternoon to post another video with some more news clips. All right. Peace and be blessed.
And before we start with the town hall, I actually wanted to mention that one of your friends here is Silk. Oh. Silk, are you here? Where are you at?
Oh. Where? Oh. I'll tell you, she is my friend, too. And she is my friend. My friend.
Oh, wow. Hey, North Carolina. Real quick now. I want y'all to listen up. I'm a little ticked off. I just want you to know I'm a little ticked off, and I'm going to tell you why. $750. Oh, my. Where American tax dollars is being used to fund illegal aliens into our country. And these illegal aliens didn't pay one dime or one red cent into our systems. And all Kamala Harris and Tampon Timmy want to give us $750? Listen, you all, we only have one choice. One choice, and that's President Donald J. Trump. We cannot afford another 4 years of this, so you're gonna have to vote like your life depends on it. Like when you're taking your breath and it's your last breath and you need that vote in order to breathe, that's what you're gonna have to do. So you're gonna have to, I'm almost finished, Mr. President. So what you're gonna have to do, you're gonna have to overvote the cheat, you're gonna have to outrun the runway, and we're gonna have to make it too big to rig. Now I can feel Diamond rising up in me. Because you have to vote right so you won't get left again. Vote red, R-E-D. Remove every Democrat. They gotta go. They gotta go. Now, while the media continue to play the race card, we're going to continue to play the Trump card so we can win, win, and win.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. So, you know, it was 9 years ago, and my beautiful wife, our First Lady, we love our First Lady. Did you see her interview on Sean Hannity and with Ainsley in the morning? She did great. But 9 years ago, she came to me. She said, you know, there are two women, and they are really incredible. I said, who the hell are they? He said, you got to see this. You're not going to believe it. They had a thing, and we fell in love like almost immediately.
Yes.
And her sister was just unbelievable, too.
Yes.
And she passed away like a couple of years ago now. It's a long time ago, it seems. It goes fast, right? But what a great combination. We love you both. They were loyal to me from day one. When they heard stuff, they said, that's a lot of crap.
Day one.
They were with me from day one.
Day one.
And that Trump sign gets bigger and bigger. I said, that's so nice, I want to buy one for myself. But
Don't you worry, Mr. President, I'm going to give you one.
I don't worry.
That's
But
right,
you know
baby.
what?
Yes.
You know what? We appreciate your loyalty, your friendship.
Thank you.
And I saw Silk backstage. I said, I'm bringing you upstage. I'm going to bring you upstage. And we miss your great sister.
Yes.
And we love you. And thank you very
Love
much.
you so
Thank
much
you.
more.
Thank you. Great.
Meanwhile, former President Trump held his own rally in Michigan yesterday where he spread another baseless conspiracy theory about hurricane relief funds. Listen to this.
They stole the FEMA money just like they stole it from a bank so they could give it to their illegal immigrants that they want to have vote for them this season.
CBS News campaign reporter Libby Cathy is joining us now with more on this. All right, Libby, the lie that the former president just delivered on that stage at that rally yesterday, explain where that conspiracy theory came from and why is he saying it if it's not true?
Yeah, good morning, Vlad. A couple mistruths in that clip we just heard from the former president. One, non-citizens cannot vote in U.S. elections. Secondly, money is not being stolen from FEMA. And actually, the agency has had to put up a website called Rumor Response Hurricane Helene to combat some of this misinformation that is circulating while first responders are on the ground trying to recover from this hurricane. So Trump yesterday, you heard that clip saying that money is being stolen from FEMA, from migrants. Where we think this originates is there is another program under Homeland Security, just like FEMA is, and it is called the Shelter and Services Program that provides funds and to support to non-citizens awaiting their court proceedings. But this is totally separate from FEMA. FEMA has said they have enough money for Hurricane Helene recovery, and that's why they put up this website to try to get at this misinformation. And it's not the first mistruth we've heard from the former president on Hurricane Helene response in particular. He also has repeated the claim that red areas, that Trump areas, are not getting the same support that blue areas are. There is no evidence to support that claim, Vlad, as FEMA is trying to, on the ground, combat this misinformation in real time.
And you're doing it as well with your incredible reporting, Libby. Thank you very much for that. Let's talk about billionaire Elon Musk, who's saying now that he's going to be in attendance for the former president's rally in Butler, Pennsylvania tomorrow. We also know that the family of the man who died in that assassination attempt, Corey Contemporary, his family will be there. I probably didn't say his name properly, but I want to be respectful of that. What do you know?
Yes, so we just got a list from the former president's campaign with a whole list of special guests that will be at this rally tomorrow in Butler, Pennsylvania. Corey Contemporary, that firefighter who was shot and killed at that event. Yes, his widow will be there, and his daughter will be there, along with Dr. Jim Sweetland. That was one of the doctors who tried to save Corey's life in the aftermath. Our own Jake Rosen interviewed him on the scene. He will also be returning as a special guest. And Elon Musk, as you say it, Trump and Elon have had a close relationship, especially in recent weeks. Trump brings him up at rallies several times, and he said on Twitter that he will be there. One name missing on that list, Melania Trump. Did not see her, but we will see if she's in Butler tomorrow. Vlad.
Yeah, I did see, Libby, that the former president was asked about I guess the video that was released by Melania Trump in anticipation of the book that she's coming out with, or that she's probably already out with, where she seems to take a different tone from the former president, and more importantly, that evangelical base of support that has applauded the former president's move to reverse Roe versus Wade. What did she say?
Yes, so in her new book, Melania, we have a clip from it. She says that she thinks that abortion is a fundamental freedom, and she says that she's believed this for most of her adult life. Obviously, this goes against the former president who appointed those 3 justices who overturned Roe v. Wade. But asked about this by News Nation yesterday, Trump said he told Melania that she should write whatever her heart believes and that it is her story to tell. Vlad.
All right, Libby Cathy reporting for us from Raleigh, North Carolina this morning. Thank you, Libby.
Let's turn now To Hurricane Helene and the rising death toll, with more than 200 people now confirmed dead, hundreds more still missing. Helene, now the deadliest hurricane to hit the mainland U.S. since Hurricane Katrina in 2005. President Biden and Vice President Harris touring hard-hit communities across the Southeast, and earlier this week deploying active duty troops. Donald Trump preparing to make his second visit to Georgia today and claiming without evidence that the Biden administration is withholding aid from states including Georgia and North Carolina.
They stole the FEMA money just like they stole it from a bank so they could give it to their illegal immigrants that they want to have vote for them this season. You know, they're trying to get them on the voters' roll. We cannot let that happen.
The White House pushing back against those allegations, releasing a statement that says this, quote, "This is false. The Disaster Relief Fund is specifically appropriated by Congress to prepare for, respond to, recover from, and mitigate impacts of natural disasters. It is completely separate from other grant programs administered by FEMA for DHS." Our panel is back here. Now, this has clearly become a big flashpoint on the right. Alex, they're talking about, they're tying basically immigration, all of the places where they feel stronger in with this disaster relief question. Overarching all of it is the fact that, I mean, the response we're a week out now. There's still people missing, cut off from the world. We're just playing video of a man holding up a mirror to try to get attention from a helicopter pilot. I mean, this is happening in America. That is a challenge for Biden and Harris.
Yeah, and Trump seized on it right away last weekend. He was the first one of these three people to be on the ground when he went to Georgia last weekend. Meanwhile, after the hurricane made landfall, Joe Biden did travel to Rehoboth Beach over the weekend. When he was asked about it, he said, "Well, I had a telephone," and it seemed like a little bit flip. And then Kamala Harris also realized there was a problem because she was out on the West Coast on a fundraising swing and quickly sort of came back. And now you see that they are scrambling to sort of show that they are on the ground. Joe Biden making several visits to storm-damaged areas just the last 2 days. And so they're trying to sort of play a little catch-up here.
Yeah, I mean, Megan, how would you grade the performance so far?
Well, I think it's a little bit more nuanced. The resources that they draw from going on the ground, that takes actually away from people doing rescue and these active, things that the people actually need, the police resources. So I don't think it's fair for them to be on the ground. I actually think it's a mistake for them to be on the ground.
Well, what about going back to the White House as this is unfolding?
I mean, the president can be the president from anywhere, so that falls a little flat. He shouldn't be so flip, but that's his nature to say flip things. You just saw him say that about Israel, about, are you confident it's not going to rain? So that's just his nature. Is it appropriate? Probably not. Should he choose a different tone? Sure, but that is his nature. But I do think, he was very quick to put out disaster relief declarations. They are very quick to do that. That is always something they do. He's always in touch with the governors and the mayors on the ground. I don't think anyone on the ground is saying that their actions are slow. But being there,
Governor Kemp did complain that some of that not enough counties were covered by disaster declaration. Said he had to call Jeff Zients, chief of staff, and then get it expanded.
Totally fair. But I also think, though, that optics do matter, and being on the ground matters, and that's what people remember. And so I do think, it is hard. The resource argument is a fair argument, but it is hard to show people and tell people that when they don't have lights, they don't have cell coverage, their family members are missing.
Yeah, I think they want to see leadership. And even last night, he was saying, "What storm zone?" And people are very happy, and you're right. Certainly doesn't look like the people are happy on the ground, but Governor Kemp wasn't happy with the limited scope of the FEMA declaration. And there's also been mixed messages from Mayorkas and DHS and FEMA about this. 3 months ago, they were saying we have plenty of money, we'll be fine. Recently saying we don't have enough to get us through hurricane season. And so that mixed messages is just, I think it's been a lackluster response across the board for a storm that is sneakily historic.
Yeah. Joining me now to talk more about this, Kevin Fry, Washington correspondent for Spectrum News, New York One. Kevin, good morning. Wonderful to see you. Let's talk about these disaster politics, because the optics of this in a campaign season can be very significant. If you remember back to Chris Christie and Barack Obama in the wake of Superstorm Sandy, really got under the skin of Romney aides to see those pictures. Now Brian Kemp not appearing with the sitting vice president. What does that say to you about the state of things, and how do you think this ultimately cuts in the election?
Right. So, I mean, look, for Kamala Harris, this is both a difficulty and also an opportunity for her, because she can play this presidential role above politics and also be the consoler in chief, taking on one of these presidential responsibilities where you're actually outreaching to folks, making them feel better in their time of crisis. At the same time, it has given rise to a line of attack, even if it's not based in fact, for the Trump campaign. And Trump is able to appear with Brian Kemp, with other folks, to show that he is making inroads with parts of the party that, quite frankly, were quite critical of him just within the last few years.
Yeah. The central challenge here, too, I mean, as this response goes on, there potentially is some risk, I think, for Democrats in. There are a lot of questions about all of the people that are still missing in the mountains of North Carolina. How much of a challenge is that potentially for Harris, considering she is the sitting vice president?
Right, and I believe it is now the second deadliest hurricane incident since Hurricane Katrina. Correct me if I'm wrong there. And we all remember the devastating impact that had on George Bush's legacy and the immediate aftermath of that, in terms of people questioning his ability to lead through such a crisis. As we continue to see these communities that are cut off in North Carolina and other parts of the country, particularly in these key battleground states, let's not forget that, that could pose all sorts of difficulties for her as she tries to, outreach to these Sunbelt states.
Okay, in August of 2020, Donald Trump was campaigning for re-election amid a series of ongoing crises. We were in the throes of the COVID-19 pandemic. The summer saw a wave of protests and uprisings over the murder of George Floyd. And to top it all off, the state of California was experiencing its largest wildfire season in recorded history. And it was that last crisis that prompted Donald Trump to say this during a campaign rally in Pennsylvania.
And I see again the forest fires are starting. They're starting again in California. I said, you got to clean your floors, you got to clean your forests. They have many, many years of leaves and broken trees, and they're like so flammable. You touch them and it goes up. I've been telling them this now for 3 years, but they don't want to listen. The environment, but they have massive fires again in California. Maybe we're just going to have to make them pay for it.
Maybe we're just going to have to make them pay for it. Trump bizarrely and falsely claimed that wildfires were somehow the result of California officials not cleaning the floors of the forest, and then threatened to make California pay for its own disaster relief. For the record, Trump's claim has been thoroughly debunked. The state of California owns only 3% of its forests. The rest are owned by private groups or the federal government, and federal agencies do take regular steps to mitigate the buildup of debris in the forest. I don't know if that includes cleaning the floors, whatever that means. But that reality didn't keep Trump from repeating this claim over and over again. The previous year, when California wildfires were also raging, Trump tweeted an angry screed at California Governor Gavin Newsom. This is what it said. I told him from the first day we met that he must clean his forest floors. And then he comes to the federal government for financial help. No more. The year before that, it was the same thing, almost like a California wildfire tradition. That year, Trump tweeted, billions of dollars are given each year with so many lives lost, all because of gross mismanagement of the forests. Remedy now or no more Fed payments. That was how Donald Trump acted when he was president. During moments of national disasters, he blamed the libs and threatened to withhold aid. He is still doing it. Just 2 weeks ago at a fundraiser in California, Trump threatened to withhold future fire aid if Governor Gavin Newsom didn't agree to change the state's water usage rules.
And Gavin Newsom is going to sign those papers. And if he doesn't sign those papers, we won't give him money to put out all his fires. And if we don't give him the money to put out his fires, he's got problems. He's a lousy governor.
That threat is not just bluster. Trump has actually tried to do this before. A bombshell new report today from E&E News reveals that in 2018, President Trump actually did try to withhold disaster aid from California just because it was a blue state, to punish the Americans who didn't vote for Trump. Mark Harvey, a former senior disaster relief official in the Trump White House, told E&E News that he was only able to get Trump to approve disaster relief for California by pulling up voting results from conservative-leaning Orange County to show President Trump that his own supporters had been heavily affected by the fires. Harvey told the outlet, we went as far as looking up how many votes Trump got in those impacted areas to show him these are the people who voted for you. And it wasn't just California. E&E News also found that as president, Donald Trump directed FEMA to cover 100% of the costs for disasters in conservative areas like the Florida Panhandle, while objecting to and slow walking aid for blue territories like Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands after Hurricane Maria. Though Trump did manage to throw the people of Puerto Rico a few paper towels. President Biden responded to this new reporting about Trump's nakedly political decisions on disaster aid, writing on X, "You can't only help those in need if they voted for you. It's the most basic part of being president, and this guy knows nothing about it." Right now, the Biden administration is in the middle of trying to deal with the latest natural disaster to hit this country. The full extent of the damage from Hurricane Helene has yet to be realized. But right now, NBC News reports that over 220 people have died as a result of that storm, and hundreds of people are likely still missing. More than a week after Hurricane Helene, nearly 700,000 people are still dealing with major power outages. Loss of connectivity has made it difficult and, in some cases, nearly impossible to reach people. Residents are also dealing with the health risks posed by the lack of access to clean water and toxic contamination that has resulted from the storm. FEMA has already processed $45 million in direct assistance to the people affected by Hurricane Helene. But amid that ongoing relief effort, Trump has decided to use this disaster as fodder for his political campaign. At a rally last night, Trump falsely claimed that hurricane victims are being denied relief money because the Biden administration spent FEMA dollars on housing for migrants. Now, for the record, this is totally false. The White House has responded in a statement saying no disaster relief funding at all was used to support migrants, housing, and services. None at all. Trump may just be projecting here. The Washington Post reports that back in 2018, Trump himself diverted money from FEMA so that the Border Patrol could use it for migrant detention. Trump's claims about the Biden-Harris response to Hurricane Helene seem to follow the bizarre Trump rule that every accusation is a confession. But that hasn't stopped the spread of misinformation among Trump supporters, especially online, where Trump has been aided by his pal Elon Musk in a quest to propagate lies. In addition to letting misinformation about the storm spread wildly on his platform, X, Elon Musk himself has been amplifying fake news. Things have gotten so out of hand here that FEMA has had to make its own landing page on the FEMA website dedicated to debunking these rumors about recovery efforts. In the meantime, Trump traveled to Georgia today for a press conference where he claimed, without irony, that his focus right now is on people and not politics.
I'm not thinking about voters right now. I'm thinking about lives. And to be honest, it's much bigger than anything else. But we're thinking about lives, a lot of lives lost, a lot of people missing. And that's what I'd be focused on right now.
Communities remain cut off because of destroyed roads. Debris is piling up in Douglas Lake. And now we are seeing misinformation spread online.
Federal and state agencies aren't stopping donations, but that fact hasn't stopped a string of false claims online. And 10 News reporter Lauren Lovett joins us now. You went straight to the director of TEMA and the governor for an explanation and their reaction. Lauren.
TEMA's director, Patrick Sheen, says officials are not and have not been taking donations away. Right now, they're helping organizations that are overwhelmed by donations. Sheen says in Cocke County, they're getting too many donations, and now that's affecting how they're able to help and how people can get help. He says these rumors around government officials taking supplies is absolutely untrue. When we spoke to Governor Bill Lee today, he agreed.
Be very cautious about misinformation. The government is not taking resources. If it doesn't seem to make sense, then it's probably not happening.
TEMA had asked people to hold off on donating items that have not been requested. That was in order to locate and rescue over 100 Tennesseans that were missing. Sheen says the volunteer spirit is great, but people will continue to need help. Right now, donors need to listen to leaders.
Don't just think about today when it's easy to think about because it's front and center. Find the time to help them 6 months from now and 1 year from now as well, because they're still going to be suffering. They're still going to be heartbroken of the loss they've faced, and they're still going to be trying to rebuild as they get on with their lives, and they'll need help then.
Now, TEMA is asking for donations to be sent to Bristol Motor Speedway. County leaders and other organizations can then request supplies. John?
Lauren, thank you. And the TBI also issuing a new warning about disaster scams. They want you to alert them if you see price gouging or any charity scams. If you have a tip or concerns, they want to hear from you at that number, 1-800-TBI-FIND.
Austin, thank you so much. And speaking of FEMA, we have to turn to another point that is very important to drive home during a time like this. Whenever we see a disaster, we always see a lot of misinformation popping up on social media. And unfortunately, that tends to get shared a lot. And it's something that we are seeing here right now with Helene. We are seeing some claims that the government is not helping or that FEMA might even be blocking supplies from coming into certain locations. WCNC Charlotte's Megan Bragg verified some of those claims we're seeing on that front.
And guys, there's been several posts circulating on social media just like this one claiming FEMA is confiscating supplies. So to verify these claims, we spoke with FEMA, Tennessee's Emergency Management, and North Carolina Governor Cooper's office.
We spoke with FEMA over the phone, and they tell us no donations will be blocked or are blocked for Western North Carolina or any disaster site. Over the phone, they told us all supplies are welcome. People in Tennessee have also been posting similar social media posts. In a post from the Tennessee Emergency Management, they say TEMA and FEMA personnel are not confiscating supplies. Any report to the contrary is false. According to a press release from the North Carolina Governor's office, FEMA has delivered more than 1.8 million meals, 2.5 million liters of water, and more than 21,000 people have been registered for assistance. There are also more than 1,000 North Carolina National Guard soldiers deployed who are surging food, water, and supplies in conducting search and rescue operations.
Now, there are points of distribution for these supplies that have been set up around each county. We have those addresses on our website, WCNC.com. With your Verify, I'm Megan Bragg.
Iran attacked Israel on Tuesday night with about 200 missiles. They managed to hit a few military bases and the Mossad headquarters. There were no Israeli casualties. One Palestinian died. But that doesn't mean that all is forgiven and forgotten. Take it from Benjamin Netanyahu.
Iran made a big mistake tonight, and it will pay for it. We will keep to the rule we have determined. Whoever attacks us, we attack them.
Netanyahu said that on Tuesday, within hours of the Iranian attack. But since then, he has been focusing on Lebanon. We haven't seen direct retaliation against Iran yet. And that's because Israel is figuring out what to strike, where to strike. There are a number of potential targets: nuclear, oil, military facilities in Iran. Let's look at them one by one. First, there's Iran's nuclear program. Now, Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon. It was work in progress. But officially, Tehran stopped developing nukes in the year 2003, or rather, they paused their efforts. That's what they say. But they still have nuclear facilities all over the country, as you can see on this map. Iran can make weapons-grade nuclear material. It can enrich uranium at some of these sites, and these facilities are in use, despite the nuclear pause. Tehran hasn't gone all the way yet, but it keeps nuclear material production on the precipice, so that if anything major happens, it can rapidly complete a nuclear weapon or two. All of Iran's enemies know this. Israel knows it, the US knows it, and everyone else does, which is why Joe Biden said this.
An attack on Iran's nuclear sites by Israel?
The answer is no. I think there's things we'll be discussing with the Israelis what they're going to do. But all seven of us agree that they have a right to respond, but they should respond in proportion.
Some of Iran's nuclear sites are protected, deep underground. It would be almost impossible to blow them up. So if Israel manages to blow up one nuclear facility, Iran can ramp up production at another and develop a working nuclear bomb in a matter of days. That is why Joe Biden doesn't want Israel to go after Iran's nuclear sites, because that is an all or nothing gamble. If even one site is still functional, then Iran will become the world's next nuclear power. That is why Israel probably won't target Iran's nuclear facilities, at least not seriously. But they could conduct a symbolic strike at one of the smaller facilities, just to show Iran that Israel can attack their nuclear sites. And this was suggested by a former Israeli prime minister. His name is Ehud Barak. He said this was a possibility, and it won't be a first. Israel did something similar in April. After Iran launched its first missile barrage in April this year, Israel responded by attacking an Iranian facility near the city of Isfahan. The attack was close to an Iranian nuclear site. Even though it wasn't directly targeted, Israel basically let them off with a warning, a symbolic show. So a direct but limited attack at a nuclear plant could be an option, at least according to Israel's former prime minister, even though it is risky. But Netanyahu has other options too, including going back to the basics. Israel could just target military facilities, airfields, drone bases, missile silos. It could even go after production facilities, target Iran's drone and missile factories. It isn't flashy, it isn't extremely sophisticated, but it will send the message. And technically, this is the only thing allowed according to the standard rules of war. But Israel hasn't really been playing by any rules lately. Netanyahu doesn't care about what he hits, as long as it does serious damage. And what will really hurt Iran is going after its pocket.
Would you support Israel striking Iran's oil facilities, sir?
We're in discussion of that. I think that would be a little, anyway.
That looks like another Biden blooper. He revealed that Israel is thinking about attacking Iran's oil facilities. Biden said discussions are ongoing. Is the U.S. discussing this internally? Are they holding discussions with Israel? Biden did not confirm, but it seems that attacks on Iranian oil are a possibility. So let's turn to the map again. Iran is an oil-rich nation. It has drilling facilities, refineries, and export terminals everywhere. But the sites you're seeing are only the major ones. Israel's most obvious target would be the Kurg oil terminal. It's on an island in the Persian Gulf, removed from the Iranian mainland. But more importantly, it's Tehran's biggest export hub by far. The Kurg oil terminal handles more than 90% of Iran's exports. That's millions of barrels every day being converted into essential funds to keep Iran's regime afloat. If this export stops, Iran gets hammered economically. But this will also have a domino effect. Iran mostly sells oil to China. If Tehran is forced to stop, Beijing will look elsewhere, causing prices to surge. And Joe Biden won't like that, because oil prices are a sensitive topic this close to U.S. elections. So Biden may try and stop Netanyahu from hitting the Kurg oil terminal, but there are other oil facilities as well, like the Abadan refinery near Iran's border with Iraq. This is a domestic facility, so if Israel attacks it, global prices may still remain stable, and Netanyahu will have his revenge. It's cynical, because ordinary people will bear the brunt, but Israel may still consider it an option. There are other facilities too, of course, like the Kish and Keshm Islands near the Strait of Hormuz. These are smaller export hubs, so attacking them would just be symbolic. But will that be enough for Prime Minister Netanyahu? As you can see, there are a lot of factors for Israel to consider, and it will take action after thinking things through, hopefully. It's a tense situation because their next move has the potential to push West Asia over the edge and plunge the world into chaos. We are hoping it doesn't come to that.
First Post decodes the U.S. election. Explains how America chooses its president. Your primer on the race to the White House. Everything you need to know about how America votes and its global implications. U.S. Election Explained. every Monday and Thursday only on First Post.
The U.S. launching military strikes on Iranian-backed militants in Yemen as Iran's supreme leader now issues a dire new warning to Israel. Here's our chief foreign correspondent, Ian Pannell, from Beirut tonight.
Tonight, as fears grow of a wider war in the Middle East, explosions rocking the capital of Yemen. U.S. forces attacking Iran-backed Houthi rebels across the country. The Pentagon saying the U.S. Navy targeted 15 Houthi military sites in an effort to make international waters safer after the Houthis started targeting ships claiming solidarity with the Palestinians in Gaza. This video showing a massive blast on an oil tanker. It comes as Iran's supreme leader warned Israel will not survive. A gun at his side, Ayatollah Khamenei speaking publicly for the first time in nearly 5 years, praising Iran's unprecedented missile attack on Israel, calling it the minimum punishment for Israel's crimes. And tonight, with Israel vowing a painful retaliation against Iran, Israeli forces bombing Beirut. ABC News has learned that the IDF targeted Hashem Safieddine, a possible successor to assassinated Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah. No word tonight if Safieddine was killed. Civilians, though, caught in the crossfire.
It's very hard because
American Lebanese citizen Samer Bawab evacuated on a flight to Istanbul. Plumes of smoke visible at the airport.
many people are waiting at the airport all day just so they can get their grandparents out, their mom out, or their daughters out. It's completely tragic.
David, as Israel plans its next move, oil prices have surged in recent days amid reports it may strike Iranian oil production. That could impact gas prices. President Biden today said Israel should consider other alternatives to hitting Iran's oil fields. David?
Ian Pannell in Beirut all week for us. Ian, thank you.
Tensions are rising in the Middle East, where Israel is weighing its response to Iran's missile attacks earlier this week. Israel says it has hit more than 2,000 sites since the start of its operations in southern Lebanon. Overnight explosions were heard in Beirut. The IDF says it was targeting another Hezbollah headquarters in the city. Meanwhile, Iran's supreme leader appeared in public for the first time since his country launched its missile attack on Israel earlier this week. He eulogized the former Hezbollah commander, Hassan Nasrallah, and called this week's strikes, quote, totally legal and legitimate. Israel has vowed to retaliate for Tuesday's missile barrage, but the timing, size, and scope of the response has yet to be seen. Let's bring in CBS News senior foreign correspondent Elizabeth Palmer, who joins us now from Tel Aviv. Elizabeth, thanks for being here. Iran's supreme leader made those rare set of remarks during morning prayer today. What else did he say, and how significant is it that he's speaking publicly?
Well, his appearance was important. You know, he's over 80 years old now, and he's not in good health. He always wears his clerical robes. But today he appeared with a rifle, which should give you some idea of the tone he wanted to strike. In a word, defiant. As you said, he did spend some time talking about Hassan Nasrallah, the late chief of Hezbollah, whose death is a really serious blow to Iran. Nasrallah was the head of Iran's most powerful proxy outside the country, Hezbollah, and Iran knows that without Nasrallah, Hezbollah has been seriously weakened. But by extension, Iran looks weak and outflanked by Israel too. So the leader was trying to disguise that fact, and that's why probably he upped the ante on the aggressive talk by saying that Iran is ready to send even more missiles to attack Israel if necessary.
What's the status of Israel's potential response?
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said shortly after the missiles came hurtling overhead, and most of them were blown out of the sky by the Iron Dome system, but he said that night Iran had made a big mistake in attacking Israel and that would pay. Of course, the question is, if it did escalate and attack Iran, what would it hit? Two possibilities are Iran's oil facilities or its air defense systems. But so far, there's absolutely no indication when this might happen or even if.
Elizabeth, we are approaching 1 year since October 7th, the attack that catapulted this region into war. Is there an end in sight?
In a word, no. If the end is to come with a negotiated settlement between Israel and Hamas, there's just no hope that it could happen anytime soon. There's complete stalling on both sides. The negotiations are pretty much dead for the moment. Could it happen suddenly with a wider deal? I suppose there's an outside possibility. Iran's foreign minister was in Beirut today, and he said, kind of enticingly, that he would support a ceasefire with Hezbollah if it included an end to the attacks on Gaza. So at least it opens the door to perhaps a wider, more complicated deal. But even if that happened, it wouldn't come quickly, and there's going to be a lot more bloodshed before we get there.
Elizabeth Palmer, thank you.
Pope Francis condemned Israel for its aggression against Lebanon and Gaza, pointing to the force used in the targeted assassination of Hassan Nasrallah, the Secretary General of Hezbollah. Speaking in an in-flight press conference over the weekend, the pontiff said that Israel has a domineering tendency, further adding, quote, a country that uses force to do these things, I am talking about any country, to do these things in such a superlative way, these are immoral actions.
The Pope declared all wars are unjust and a crime against humanity, arguing that morality must be upheld even during times of war. His sentiment echoes his 2022 remarks about the war in Ukraine, calling for an end to it in March, a month after Russia invaded it. Though he didn't call out Russia by name, the Pope's criticism of the war has increased. Israel has not responded to these latest comments from the Pope, but in July, Israel issued a statement condemning the Catholic Church.
Yeah, I mean, it is the Pope's role to call for global peace, world peace, consistent with Catholic or Christian or religious philosophy in general, but obviously the situation is complicated by the fact that the participants want to engage in war, at least in the case of Israel and Hamas, and
they don't answer the Pope.
Israel and Iran, and they don't answer the Pope, but he is right to call for peace. I hope peace prevails, but it goes both ways, and both sides and belligerents need to seek peace.
I think this Pope in particular needs to be very careful because he is a different type of Pope. He's portraying himself, he's a Jesuit, he's a more progressive leader in the Church. The Catholic Church historically has not taken positions like this. So he has to be a little bit careful because let's not forget, roll back the clock, when the Catholic Church and the Red Cross facilitated Nazis, they transported Nazis to South America, in Argentina in particular. I mean, Evita Peron, the famous Evita Peron, went to the Pope, went to the Vatican, and orchestrated this deal. And several Nazis, there's so many books have been written about this at this point, moved to South America in facilitation with the Red Cross and the Catholic Church, and he should know that. So, beyond this rhetoric, right, there's also an undertone that could be perceived through the Jewish community that he is not representing their interests.
Well, I mean, the Church, many Catholic priests and Catholic leaders sheltered Jewish people, stood up for Jewish people during World War II. I don't know that, I mean, I'm raised Catholic. I'm a sort of lapsed Catholic, I would say, and obviously the Catholic Church has a very complicated history, and it is certainly not all to the good, including in recent times. But I would not say that the Catholic Church has a Jewish problem.
Well, I'm saying that the Vatican itself. So yes, there are individual churches. There are individual churches, there are individual Jesuit priests, but the Vatican itself facilitated this. All I'm mentioning is another layer to this current, which it's not just that the Pope is speaking out against war, it's that the Pope is the head of a church that had some real issues with the Jewish population, one generation ago. So it's something to keep in mind, and I'm sure Netanyahu's very aware of this, and it could be weaponized. So if I were the Pope, which would be a very weird position to be, I would make it very clear and overly clear that this is any sort of atrocities. All war is bad, as he said. But
although under Catholic morality, there is just war theory. You are not obligated to do nothing and stand motionless as you are killed if your land, if your people are invaded or attacked, as the people of Ukraine were by Russia. Now, I agree that we need to have peace, and in fact, I think we should be pushing for peace, even if that means Russia claiming some kind of or taking some kind of victory so that they stop invading the country and killing everyone in it. I'm for that, but you do have a right. It's not, if you're attacked, you can, and then this is, what gets tricky about the Israel situation is that they were attacked on October 7th. 1,200 people killed, people dragged from their homes, taken prisoner by a terrorist group. But of course, the Palestinian people have the right to feel aggrieved by how Israel has treated them. And then Israel will say, well, we did those things because of the things Palestinians did on X, Y, and Z occasion. And then they can say, but before that, we did that. Like, this is how it becomes impossible to resolve these things, because you can always point to previous actions by the other side that you are saying you are responding to. And what partisans do, I've noticed now, and I will throw this out there. I think the left does this sometimes. Maybe not you specifically. You can always, and the right does it too. You can always reduce the agency of your own side and thus make the other side feel more guilty. Say, well, they're only doing this. The other power, be it Russia, the Hamas, whoever it is, they're only doing it because in response to our actions, which were bad, and that's usually true. But then you can also say, but what were our actions were a result of some bad action that they took. And what people will do is cut off the agency and say, no, we are the U.S. and its allies are the prime actors and movers, and everyone else is just helpless but can only react to what we do. And they have no control over how they handle things. It's just us. But of course, that's a very simplistic way of viewing it.
I think you're totally right on this. And that's why people who say the Mideast is simple, it's not. It's incredibly complicated, and we should understand that, to the point where a basic complication is Netanyahu obviously propped up Hamas and is very much benefiting from this situation and using it to his advantage.
Not a conspiracy theory has been clearly demonstrated 100%. By mainstream reporting.
Including reporters in Israel who've reported on this for over a decade. With that being said, he's also using this as an opportunity to leverage Israel and U.S.'s relationship to take on Iran, of course. What I'm curious about with the Pope is, what are you going to do about it? You're the Pope. I love how he's presenting himself as this peaceful figurehead, but the Catholic Church is incredibly powerful. And yet, it's like he wants to sit in the shadows. Why don't you offer some sort of peace talks? Why don't you invite these leaders and have a conversation at the Vatican in some safe space? Maybe it doesn't go anywhere, but at least do something. If you want peace, you can't just call for world peace. Oh, we're going to do a prayer every Sunday and we're all going to call for world peace. That's great, but that's also like Marianne Williamson saying we're going to meditate on world peace. It's a good thing. It's not a solution.
I mean, Catholics believe that prayer, not just Catholics, Christians, people of other faiths believe that prayer is an important thing you can do, and it's sometimes really the only thing you can do.
But he can do more, is what I'm saying. Okay. Maybe it's the only thing we can do, but he can do more.
The Pope.
He is in charge of one of the most powerful institutions in the world, historically, throughout time, and continuing today.
Well, I would like to see everyone call for more peace and work toward that. And yeah, that would certainly be a good thing. That does it for us today on Rising. Thanks for tuning in. It is, only Wednesday? So we'll be back here tomorrow. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss any content. And for those of you who like to listen while on the go, we're now available anywhere you listen to podcasts. We'll see you later. Still hoping for some sunshine in the District of Columbia, maybe one of these days. See you later.
The crisis in Haiti, violent gangs appear to be ramping up their efforts to keep control from Kenyan forces. At least 70 people were killed, including infants, in an attack on the Haitian town of Ponsonde Thursday. Members of the Grand Reef gang set fire to nearly 4 dozen homes and dozens of cars as thousands of people ran for their lives.
Last week, I met with Ukraine's President Zelensky. And the message I delivered was the same message I've shared with him every time I've seen him. I stand with Ukraine, and I always will. And I told him, as I have before, I want Ukraine to prevail. By contrast, in our debate, Donald Trump couldn't even bring himself to say he wanted Ukraine to win the war. Couldn't even bring himself to say that. A war that Putin, a brutal dictator, launched against a free and independent people. Trump wants to force Ukraine to give up its sovereign territory.
In the first half of 2024, Ukraine produced 25 times more mortar and artillery ammunition than in entire 2022. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said every month the Ukrainian defense industry produces from 15 to 20 self-propelled artillery units Bogdana. Ukraine is also working on the production of its own long-range weapons.
We are already using a completely new class of Ukrainian weaponry, the Palynica long-range drone missile, and our other types of long-range drones are also working, as well as maritime drones. Our new ballistic missile has been successfully tested.
According to Volodymyr Zelensky, Ukraine is capable of producing up to 4 million drones a year. It is drones that allow the Ukrainian defense forces to regularly strike military facilities on the territory of Russia. The next step is to develop Ukrainian defense industry with its own missile program, the Ukrainian defense minister said.
We have invested $4 billion that allowed us to expand capabilities, and now we can expand it even further and can deliver value. As you know, we've been focused recently on missile programs and drone programs. Next year or towards the end of the year, you'll often hear about our huge missile program. We are already starting to work on our ballistic missiles. One of the strategic tasks where we have had success is to strengthen the long-range capabilities of Ukrainian weapons. Our task is that there should not be a single safe place in the European part of Russia where debris from our drones and missiles could not fly to.
Long-range strikes on the territory of the aggressor country are justified and vital, analysts have said. Allowing Kyiv to launch strikes with Western weapons deep into Russia will strengthen Ukraine's defense capabilities and worsen Moscow's position. This will bring a just peace closer.
The partner states' hesitation on the issue of long-range weapons is the result of Russia's policy of global blackmail. By fueling fears of escalation, Moscow seeks to deter the West's determination to support Ukraine, from a publication by the Center for Strategic Communications and Information Security on Telegram.
Ukraine has set a goal to build one of the most modern defense industrial complexes. The president noted that Ukraine should become one of the key global security donors thanks to its defense industries. Reported by Anastasia Tarnavska and Nikita Skoblikov, UATV News.
Ukraine's military intelligence agency has claimed responsibility for killing the head of security at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. The agency posted a video on its Telegram channel showing an SUV exploding. Hours later, the Russian Investigative Committee confirmed that Andrei Korotkyi was killed. The GUR said Korotkyi was a war criminal and voluntarily collaborated with Moscow after it seized control of the nuclear facility in the early weeks of the war. Meanwhile, at least 3 people, including a 6-year-old girl, have been killed when the Russian military hit a car carrying liquefied natural gas in the northern village of Hirsk. Village authorities said the strike caused the gas cylinders to explode, causing a fire which spread to a nearby house. And in eastern Ukraine, residents of Pokrovsk have begun patching up their homes after overnight Russian strikes caused extensive damage and injured 4 people. According to the regional police, the Russian military dropped 6 bombs on the city, damaging a multi-story building, 3 houses and a shop.
Now it's time for Vantage Shots, images that tell the story. NASA captures the strongest solar flare in 7 years. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, an overcrowded boat sinks, killing at least 78 people. In the US, a building caught in floodwaters collides with a pole. Finally, we're taking you back in history. On this day in 1957, the Soviet Union inaugurated the space age when they successfully launched Sputnik 1. This was the first artificial satellite to orbit the Earth. We're leaving you on that note. Thank you for watching. Have a good weekend.
Holy. It just ripped it in fucking half. Holy fuck.
First Post decodes the U.S. election, explains how America chooses its president. Your primer on the race to the White House. Everything you need to know about how America votes and its global implications. U.S. Election Explained. Every Monday and Thursday only on First Post.